There is a memory within you, a memory not of this life, not of childhood, not of any time you can name with the calendar of days. It is a memory of a different order, a resonance of something you once knew with absolute certainty before you learned to call yourself by name. You feel it, do you not? A fleeting nostalgia for a home you cannot place, a profound recognition in a piece of music you have never heard, a wisdom that flashes behind your eyes in a moment of silence, only to be drowned out by the world's noise. This, what you dismiss as a daydream, is in truth the most real part of you. It is your soul's truth, whispering to you from beneath the colossal, dazzling illusion of this earthly stage, an illusion so convincing you have mistaken its props and painted backdrops for the very substance of reality. You have put on a costume and forgotten the face beneath the mask. You have learned your part in this temporal play so well that you have forgotten the immortal audience member who came only to watch, to experience, and to remember. There is a lie we are taught from the very beginning, a lie that corrodes our very sense of self. It is the notion that wholeness is a state of perfection, a flawless surface, an unbroken continuity. We are taught to hide our cracks, to plaster over the wounds, to present to the world a smooth and polished facade, as if we were a pristine wall newly built. We spend our energy in this endless, exhausting maintenance, terrified that someone might see the damage. But I tell you, this is a profound error, a misdirection of the soul. For the wholeness you seek is not the wholeness of the blank, unscarred page. It is the wholeness of the cathedral that has withstood the storm, the wholeness that is found not in spite of the ruins, but deep within them. Look at the old places, the structures that have soul. We do not cherish them for their perfect, sterile newness. We are drawn to them because of their weathering, their cracks, the way the light enters not through perfect windows alone, but through the fissures where the stones have shifted over centuries. These are not flaws to be lamented. They are the record of a life lived. They are evidence of resilience. And so it is with you, the parts of you that you have hidden away, the shame, the failure, the heartbreak, the peculiarities that never seem to fit. These are not evidence of a building poorly made. They are the sacred architecture of your unique experience. They are the nave and the transept of your inner cathedral. Your task, then, is not one of repair in the common sense. It is not to tear down the ruins and build something bland and new. It is an act of sacred archaeology. You must have the courage to walk back into those broken places within yourself, not with a tool belt of judgment, but with a lantern of curious compassion. You must sift through the rubble of your old pains. What is this fallen stone of a betrayal? What is this overgrown vine of a forgotten dream? Do not seek to clear it away hastily. Sit with it. Listen to it. Every fracture holds a story, and every story holds a piece of your energy, a fragment of your spirit that you abandoned there in your rush to be presentable. For when you disown a part of your experience, you disown a part of your soul. You fragment yourself. The anxiety you feel, the restlessness, that sense of being incomplete, this is often the whisper of these exiled pieces, calling out from their ruins, longing to be reintegrated into the whole of who you are. The goal is to gather them back, to welcome the grief that taught you depth, and the failure that taught you humility, and the anger that taught you the boundaries of your spirit. These are not your enemies. They are the very stones with which your soul has been building itself all along. The light of your consciousness does not only shine from the unbroken roof, it streams most beautifully through the cracks, creating patterns of unparalleled complexity and beauty on the floor of your being. This is the sacred wholeness, the inclusion of all that you are, the proud and the ashamed, the strong and the shattered, into a single, vast and holy structure. So I invite you to cease seeing yourself as a construction project destined for perfection, and to begin honoring yourself as a living history, a sacred side dot. And it is precisely this sacred inner architecture that we have now forgotten how to hear. We live in an age of unprecedented connection, a dizzying symphony of light and information, and yet we have never felt more profoundly alone in the chorus. We have built a digital cosmos that mirrors the collective mind, a dazzling, chattering machine of immense power. But we have committed a grave error in this construction. We have mistaken the interface for the operator, the hardware for the soul. We feverishly curate the profile, polish the avatar, and feed the algorithm with the crumbs of our attention, all the while neglecting the quiet, ancestral presence within the one who operates the machine, the one who longs not for likes, but for meaning. We have become so enthralled by the flickering screen that we have forgotten the ancient, constant star by which it is navigated. This digital world is not the problem. The machine is not evil. It is a tool of immense potential, a new frontier of the collective psyche. The danger lies in our identification with it. When we believe we are the profile, the post, the perfectly filtered image, we sever the connection to the deeper, older self. We lose the thread that connects us to the instinctual, the intuitive, to the part of us that knows the language of dreams, that feels the turning of the seasons, that is nourished by silence and solitude. This is the ancestor within you, not a primitive relic, but the accumulated wisdom of your entire lineage, the timeless core of your being that exists before and beyond the transient noise of the current age. It is the part of you that feels a pang of truth in a myth, that is stirred by the sight of a wild forest, that understands grief and joy in the body, not just in the mind. Your soul does not live in the cloud. It resides in the breath that fills your lungs, in the weight of your body on the earth, in the quiet, unspoken knowing that arises when you step away from the constant broadcast and simply exist. To reclaim it, you do not need to destroy the machine. That is a futile war. The task is one of recalibration. It is to consciously and deliberately withdraw your identity from the frantic digital periphery and return it to the silent, sovereign center. You must create for yourself moments of deliberate silence, not as an escape, but as a homecoming. You must walk in nature, not as a photo opportunity, but as a conversation with the oldest parts of your own biology. You must engage with the digital world as the ancestor would, with purpose, with discernment, using it as a tool, not being used by it as a fuel. You must remember that you are the silent, watchful presence behind the eyes that look at the screen, the ancient, enduring soul that has chosen to experience this strange and wonderful new world, but was never, ever meant to be consumed by it. Let the machine hum its necessary song, but tend to the older, deeper music within Dot, and this act of homecoming, this return to the sovereign center, demands a courage that our modern world does not teach. It demands a willingness to turn away, for a time, from the well-lit corridors of your acceptable self, the persona you have worked so hard to build, and to descend deliberately into the unlit labyrinth that sprawls beneath it. We are taught to flee from our darkness. We are given 1,000 distractions, 1,000 ways to numb the discomfort, to outrun the shadow that trails us. We call this progress, this constant flight into light and noise. But I tell you, this flight is a prison, For the very darkness you are running from is not your enemy, it is the forgotten path to your own liberation. The part of you that you have been taught to fear, to disown, to plaster over with positive affirmations, that is the very threshold you must cross. This labyrinth is your own inner world of the unacknowledged. Its walls are built of everything you have ever repressed, the shame that made you curl inward, the rage you deemed too dangerous to feel, the grief you thought would drown you, the peculiar and powerful desires that did not fit the life you were supposed to want. It is a tangled, confusing place. There are no easy maps. You will meet there the faces you hoped you had forgotten. You will hear the echoes of choices you regret, and you will feel the weight of all you have lost. Your first instinct will be to turn back, to seek the familiar, sunlit ground of your persona. But if you can find the courage to take another step into the gloom, you will make a staggering discovery. This is not a prison of your past. It is a vast storehouse of your lost power, for the energy you used to build those walls, to lock away those aspects of yourself, is a tremendous force. Your vitality is trapped there in the darkness. Your creativity is bound up in those repressed impulses. Your authentic voice is muffled beneath layers of fear. The journey through this labyrinth is not about getting lost. It is about retrieving these lost parts of your soul. Each time you face a fragment of your shadow, when you can sit with your own jealousy without judgment, when you can acknowledge your own need for power without flinching, when you can weep for your old sorrows without rushing to stop the tears, you are not becoming darker. You are reclaiming your light. A strange alchemy occurs. The wound becomes a source of compassion. The rage becomes a force for unwavering boundaries. The broken dream becomes the seed of a truer path. The monster you feared to meet in the center of the maze is revealed to be a forgotten part of your own soul, waiting not to destroy you, but to be integrated, to make you whole. This is the great paradox that all true seekers must embrace. Your wholeness lies on the other side of the very darkness you have spent a lifetime avoiding. The path home is not the brightly lit, straight road of conformity and suppression. It is the winding, unlit, and deeply personal labyrinth of your own shadow. You must lose yourself in this darkness to truly find yourself. The way out is through and what emerges from this courageous descent, from this retrieval of your lost fragments, is not a state of quiet, bland uniformity. To integrate these disparate parts is not to silence them. The goal is not a sterile peace, but a vibrant, sometimes tumultuous, and utterly alive harmony. You are not meant to become a single, pure note held forever. You are meant to become a symphony. Think of the most powerful music you have ever heard. It has its quiet passages and its thunderous crescendos, its moments of sorrow that make the joy that follows feel earned and true. It is the tension between the notes, the resolution of dissonance into a richer chord, that gives the composition its profound beauty and its emotional power. So it is with you. The rage you retrieved from the labyrinth must not be silenced. It must find its place as the powerful, percussive rhythm that defends your boundaries. The grief you integrated must not be forgotten. It must become the deep, resonant cello line that gives your compassion its weight and depth. The wild, peculiar creativity you unearthed must not be tamed. It must be the soaring violin melody that colors your unique perspective on the world. This is the great work of conducting the symphony of shadows. You are the conductor standing before the orchestra of your own soul. For much of your life, you have been trying to Only let the violins play the pleasant, acceptable, high-minded thoughts. You have told the brass section your passions and angers to remain silent. You have hidden the percussion your primal instincts and raw impulses in a back room. The result is not music, it is a thin, anxious, and incomplete sound. A real symphony requires all the sections. It requires you to acknowledge the blaring trumpet of your ambition, the somber double bass of your loneliness, the playful flute of your whimsy, and even the disruptive, chaotic cymbal crash of your fear. Your task is not to judge these instruments, but to listen to them, to understand their unique tone and their power, and then, with the baton of your conscious awareness, to begin to bring them into relationship with one another. This is the artistry of a whole life. It means allowing your grief to speak, but not to drown out the melody of your hope. It means letting your anger fuel a necessary action, but not allowing it to sabotage the softer themes of connection. It is a dynamic, ever-unfolding process, not a fixed state. There will be days of dissonance, where the music falls into chaos, and you must gently, patiently guide it back toward a harmonious arrangement. But when you succeed, even for a moment, the music that erupts from your being is unlike anything else in all of creation. It is the authentic sound of you, not a curated playlist of acceptable emotions, but a full spectrum, powerful and moving composition that could only be played by the unique and unrepeatable instrument of your soul. This is the music you were born to make. And how does this symphony, this orchestra of the soul, communicate its most profound compositions? It speaks to you each night in a forgotten language older than any tongue spoken beneath the sun. While the conscious mind sleeps, the inner world holds its vibrant, unfettered court. We have been taught to dismiss this nightly parliament as random noise, the meaningless static of a resting brain. But this is a catastrophic misreading of a sacred text. Your dreams are not nonsense. They are the secret whispers of your totality, coded dispatches from the front lines of your own becoming, sent from the depths of your being to the outpost of your conscious awareness. They are letters from the conductor to the musician, written in the native tongue of the soul, the language of symbol, metaphor, and image. We have lost the ability to read this language because we insist on translating it into the crude literal vocabulary of the day. To ask, what does it mean that I dreamt of a snake? And to seek a single textbook answer is to miss the point entirely. The snake is not a defined word. It is a living symbol. It can be a threat or a healing, a representation of hidden knowledge or a betrayal, a shedding of the past or a creative life force. Its meaning is unique to the landscape of your own psyche, to the context of your life. The dream does not hand you a simple message. It presents you with a living image to be contemplated, a poem to be felt, a mystery to be unfolded within the chambers of your own heart. It is the raw, unedited material from the very workshops of your soul, where the shadow, the anima, the ancestor, and the self all gather to shape your destiny. To decode these whispers is not an intellectual exercise. It is an act of relationship. It begins with a shift in attitude from dismissal to reverent curiosity. Keep a journal by your bed. When you wake, grasp for the fading images before the rational mind scrubs them away. Write them down, not to immediately analyze them, but to honor them, to give them a space in your waking world. Then carry the image with you throughout the day. If you dreamt of a vast, unknown room in your own house, do not simply say, "That was strange." Instead, ask yourself, what part of myself have I not yet explored? What potential lies waiting in the uncharted territory of my own being? If you dream of a forgotten child, ask, where have I abandoned my own innocence, my sense of wonder and play? The dream does not give you answers. It poses the questions your soul desperately needs you to hear. This is how you begin the dialogue. This is how you learn the grammar of your own inner world. You listen, you record. You engage the images with feeling, with intuition, with a willingness to be surprised and humbled. You invite the wolf at the door to speak its piece. You follow the winding path through the dark forest without knowing the destination. For, in doing so, you are telling the deepest parts of yourself that they matter, that they have a voice, and that you are finally, after all this time, ready to listen. The night is not an emptiness to be endured, but a council chamber to be entered. And this dialogue with the depths, this listening to the soul's native tongue, requires a currency that our modern world has all but obliterated, the currency of a unified and sovereign attention. We live in an age of fragmentation, where the human psyche is pulled in 1,000 directions at once, our focus fractured into 1,000 glittering shards. We mistake this constant, skittering motion for engagement, for being alive. But I tell you, this state is the psychological equivalent of leader heavy, base, and chaotic element that weighs down the spirit. The great work of the soul, the true alchemy, is to take this base metal of our scattered awareness and, through a profound and deliberate effort, transmute it into the gold of a unified presence. This is the alchemy of attention. It is not merely a practice for monks on mountaintops. It is the most urgent and practical work of our time, the essential precondition for hearing the symphony within and understanding the whispers of your dreams. For your attention is not just a function, it is your very substance. Where you place your attention, there you place your soul. When you scatter it to the winds, responding to every ping and notification, skimming surfaces in a perpetual state of partial awareness, you are not being efficient. You are performing a slow psychic dismemberment. You are giving away fragments of your being to 1,000 meaningless demands, and the center, the silent, observing self is left hollowed out, a king whose court has been abandoned. This is the great draining of our era, not a draining of time, but a draining of essence. The consequence is a soul-starved existence, a life lived in the anxious periphery, never in the calm and potent center. The transmutation begins with a radical and countercultural act, the withdrawal of the projection. You must consciously recall your attention from the 10,000 things that lay claim to it and return it again and again to the one thing, the living reality of this present moment. This is not an abstract philosophy. It is a practical, moment-by-moment ritual. It is felt in the deliberate sensation of the breath entering and leaving your body, an anchor in the fleeting current of thought. It is found in the full absorption of gazing at a single leaf, noting its veins, its color, its very leafness, without the mind rushing to name it and move on. It is practiced in the act of listening to another person with your whole being, without internally preparing your response. In these acts, you are gathering the scattered shards of your psyche. You are melting down the leaden chaos of distraction in the crucible of your conscious awareness. And through this consistent, gentle heat of focused presence, the alchemy occurs. The fragmented, reactive mind begins to settle. The inner noise subsides. And in that newfound space, that inner silence, the gold of presence begins to shine forth. This gold is a quality of being fully inhabiting your own life. It is a perception that is rich, deep, and imbued with meaning. It is the power to truly meet another person, to truly experience a work of art, to truly hear the guidance from within. The lead of distraction, keeps you trapped in the literal and the superficial. The gold of presence allows you to perceive the symbolic, the archetypal, the poetic dimension of reality that is the soul's true home. This is how you reclaim your sovereignty, not by overthrowing an external king, but by recalling your exiled attention and crowning the conscious self anew. And this work of alchemy, this gathering of your scattered soul into a vessel of pure presence, will inevitably lead you to the final and most terrifying of all the sacred sites within yourself. It is a place you have spent a lifetime avoiding, a place you have carefully walled off from your conscious awareness. I speak of the wound, not the small disappointments or passing griefs, but the fundamental one, the primordial fracture that seems to define your very existence, the betrayal that shattered your trust, the loss that carved a void within you, the fundamental inadequacy you have always sensed at the core of your being. You have been taught to see this wound as a failure, as a flaw in the material of your soul, the ultimate evidence of your brokenness. You hide it, you compensate for it, you build entire fortresses of achievement and relationship to protect it from being touched. But I must tell you a profound and ancient secret: this wound, this very fracture, is not your ruin. It is the most sacred ground you will ever walk upon, for the soul does not engage in random acts of cruelty. The deepest wound is never accidental. It is a fissure that was created at a point of unique potential, a crack that forms exactly where the light of the self is most desperate to enter. We are not wounded in our strongest, most fortified places. We are wounded in our softest, most vulnerable, and therefore most authentic spot. It is the place where the protective layers of the persona were thinnest, where the world could touch the raw nerve of your true being. And because of this, it is the precise location of your greatest sensitivity, your deepest compassion, and your most profound understanding. The wound is a rupture in the ordinary, a tear in the fabric of the conscious personality, and through that tear, the contents of the deeper, numinous self can begin to emerge. Think of it not as a scar, but as a fault line from which gold can be mined. The immense pain you feel around this wound is the energy of your own unlived life, trapped and concentrated at that single point. Your task is not to heal it in the sense of making it disappear, to sew it up and pretend it was never there. That is the way of the persona, the way of the mask. The soul's way is one of revelation. You must have the unimaginable courage to approach this wound not as a victim, but as an initiate. You must kneel at the edge of this fissure in your being and look deeply into it. You must ask it the only question that matters: what purpose do you serve? What power lies buried here? When you do this, a miraculous transformation begins. The wound that was once only a source of pain becomes a source of perception. The childhood abandonment becomes the wellspring of a profound empathy for the lonely. The humiliation becomes the fuel for an unwavering integrity. The feeling of inherent inadequacy becomes the relentless driver toward your unique, unfulfilled potential. The wound becomes the place where you are most truly, nakedly, and powerfully yourself. It is the crack in the vessel, and through that crack, your specific and essential quality of spirit flows out into the world. Your greatest pain becomes your greatest gift, not in spite of its agony, but because of its depth and its truth. This is the sacred wound, where the spear that pierced you becomes the very channel through which your soul's power pours forth thought. And so we arrive at the great and final truth, the culmination of all our journeying through the ruins and the labyrinths, the dreams and the silence. You have carried this wound, this sacred fracture, as a burden. You have seen the scattered fragments of your attention as a weakness. You have heard the symphony of your shadows as chaos. But now you must see with new eyes. You are not a problem to be solved. You are a mystery to be lived. You are the cathedral and the ruin, the ancestor and the machine, the conductor and the symphony. The wound is not a flaw in your design. It is the very channel through which your unique and essential power enters the world. The lead of your distraction, once alchemized, becomes the unshakable gold of your presence. So I say to you now, stop fleeing from yourselves. The war is over. Lay down the weapons you have used against your own soul. From this moment forward, you must wear your history, not as a shackle, but as a crown of thorns and stars. You must walk into the world with the unshakable knowledge that your greatest vulnerability is your greatest strength, that your deepest wound is your sacred purpose. You are not here to be perfect, pleasant, or safe. You are here to be whole, to be potent, to be real. You are here to pour the gold of your reclaimed attention onto a distracted world. You are here to play your impossible, beautiful, necessary symphony in the grand concert of existence. Go now, not as a repaired thing, but as a sovereign of your own soul. Go and be gloriously, unbearably, unstoppably yourself. The world has waited long enough for the gift that only you can give. Thank you. And good luck on the great journey.